Kravitz. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 305 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz. It is the biggest racing day of the year, at least in my opinion, bigger than the Derby. It is Breeders' Cup Saturday, and we're going to be previewing it like a glove tonight, all 9 races with a lot of our wonderful co-hosts here on the show. I cannot wait to bring you all of our fantastic opinions, analysis, and handicapping. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. And ladies and gentlemen, we crushed the 3,000 subscriber mark today. Way to go, everyone out there. We cannot do it without you. We are so proud. We are now over 3,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. What are you waiting for? Let's make it 4, 5, and 6,000. Hit that subscribe button. Also, hit the notification bell. That way you'll know when new content will arise, and smash that like button. We've already got a bunch of likes. We need a hell of a lot more. You can reach me on X or Twitter. It's right there, at H Kravitz. And the Twitter handle is almost at 2,000 follows. So please follow us on X. We want to go way over that 2,000 mark. And of course, you can email me, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. It's going to be scrolling at the bottom of the screen. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Now, we've had a lot of fantastic shows this week. Let me show you where all the shows that you can find us. You go to our YouTube channel. We're bringing it up right now. You go to our YouTube channel. Just go to the YouTube search bar, type in HHH Racing Podcast. There you see we're over 3,000 subscribers already. Let me make this a little bigger so people can see. There you go, over 3,000 subscribers. Scroll down. There you are. Breeders' Cup preview shows. I just put up 3 shows late last night from Benton and Boozin. The Saturday Pick 6 and the early Pick 5 for Friday and Saturday. The Benton and Boozin boys did a great job. You can see all of our shows. Make sure you click this back arrow and you see more shows. Larry Colmus interview, pre-entries. This is a great show right here. The international entry preview of Davey Lane. Please check that out. Aiden O'Brien, almost 7,000 views right now. We had Aiden O'Brien live, and then, of course, the great show to kick off Breeders' Cup with Cody Dorman and family. It's been an unbelievable week plus here, and our numbers have been absolutely huge. We cannot, again, thank you all enough for all your support, and please spread the word, especially if you're new to the channel. Spread the word because, of course, we got a lot of fantastic stuff to talk about after the Breeders' Cup. Speaking of that, we will have a Breeders' Cup recap show next Tuesday night, 8 p.m., with stories of the Breeders' Cup 2023. Hopefully a lot of good betting stories. Also, very quickly, let me bring up our power picks. And folks, you do not have a lot of time. Tonight, Wednesday, midnight, is the hard deadline to buy Breeders' Cup power picks. Here's our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. Let me bring up the banner for that very quickly, if I can find it. Up there it is. There it is, hhhracingpodcast.com. Here's the website. Click on the top, Breeders' Cup only power picks. There you go. We also have regular power picks as well through Patreon. People should check that out. But again, you only have till midnight Eastern time tonight for the Breeders' Cup power picks. It's a hard out. We've got to get those out tomorrow morning so people can handicap. So please, if you're interested, sign up before midnight Eastern tonight. All right. I think that takes care of one more thing. Instagram.com/HHH Racing Podcast. Please follow us on Instagram. All right, here we go. Let me bring on my fantastic co-hosts who've been doing yeoman's work, really not just this past week, but for a year and a half. And this show has exploded in part due to their help and expertise. Let me bring them on right now. First, from the East Coast of Maryland, fresh off, I believe, a trick-or-treat expedition with his son. Let's bring him on, Pete Visco, and from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the Saratoga Special, and live from, I believe, either Pasadena or Arcadia or somewhere close to Santa Anita, Paul Halloran. Guys, how we doing tonight? Breeders' Cup Saturday, baby. Let's go.
Yes, Altadena Town and Country Club in Altadena next to Pasadena.
Very nice.
And,
Paul, you
Fancy pants.
And hats off to them. I pled my case. Some poor woman said, "Can I help you, sir?" I said, "Yes, I need a place to do a podcast, please." So
Nice.
They cleared out a room for me. There was people working in here. Ashley set me up, and I'm going to go as long as I can.
You look like an angel. Look at you. You got the lights behind you.
Well,
It's
you know,
very
Pete, that's the way I look, Pete. That's me.
He's got the natural glow off of the. Well, forget it.
No hat today. He's going.
I'm
nice. I love it.
Formal affair tonight, Pete.
There you go. Paul, I'll move your camera down just slightly. That'd be great. So, guys, we got a lot to talk about here. I don't want to waste any time. No real big news that I saw today. Other than I haven't been able to watch the morning shows, guys. I have something called work. I'm a full-time high school math teacher. For those people who don't know, I have no idea how I survived the last 8 days between that and this podcast. I'm working on very little sleep, and will continue to do so through probably Sunday. But Ushma Tesoro, from what I heard, maybe you guys saw, went to the gate, acted better in the gate, was there quite a long time for a schooling session. Either one of you, did you see it? Any intel for the Classic you want to share with that horse in particular?
I didn't see it, but I heard that, and I think he timed work.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. He's back.
Sorry, Paul, you just went out in and out there.
Yeah, I'm at the mercy of
spot they found Pete for him there.
Hey, I'm at the mercy of the Wi-Fi.
Can you repeat that real quick, Paul?
Yeah, I believe he also had somewhat of a timed workout after the gate. Howard did, I think,
actually,
right?
Before the gate.
Before, okay, yeah, yep.
Okay. Thankfully, no bad news because we've had.
Well, no. Did you go Rocket Ride past? Did you not see that?
Yeah.
No.
Is that official, Pete? Because there was
it was like false, in the chat. No, there was a false announcement. Then they retracted it. DRF retracted their announcement,
and then
he actually did. And then Bobby Knight, for all Indiana fans that they're throwing in the chat as well. So a couple sad notes today.
Okay, I go Rocket Ride. I know there was a false report. I greatly apologize to everyone. That is not.
No, that's okay, because I think everyone was confused because of the false report. Excuse me, and the retraction.
Right. Well, Bobby Knight's all their conversation. I went to IU, guys. I was there for the last run of Bobby Knight. Well, that's for another time. But anyway, yeah. All right. Well, unfortunately, there was some bad news today. But guys, we're not here to bring bad news. We're here to talk about the wonderful day that is Saturday of Breeders' Cup at an unbelievable locale in Arcadia, California. Guys, let's bring up a few comments from the chat real quick. Robbie Courtney's here. Look who Robbie Courtney met. Marshall Graham in the hotel lobby. Wow. He'll never wash his hands again after shaking hands with the professor, Marshall Graham. Robbie, thanks for joining the show. We have Terry Franks in the chat. Look at Johnny. Johnny, we love you, buddy. His new favorite podcast. Johnny, please bring some other people along. Thank you, Johnny. We really do appreciate that. Hopefully you have some friends who are going to feel the same way. We got Mario Diaz wondering about more scratches. I have a hard time believing there are going to be too many more. Tanner Hawkins is here. Good evening, gentlemen. Gary Calaroso, I look forward to seeing you guys at Santa Anita. I'll be there both days. Pete's not going to be there, but I will be there, and Paul will be there. Paul's already there pretty much in California. I have a very early flight tomorrow morning. Ed Morales, hey guys, let's go get him. Totally agree. One of my favorite new chatters, Suki Satsuki 232, the Black Dragon. Rest in peace, go Rocket Ride. We agree. It's just a real damn shame. All right. I got a lot of people.
Bring up Suki's. Bring up the most recent comment from Suki. It's very flattering for us.
There's a zillion.
It's the most recent comment.
Oh, this one?
No, the more recent one.
Oh, well, he said, "Let's go Ushma." I agree with that one. I don't know why, but watching old men. Whoa. Suki. Ouch. Pete, we're not old. I mean, I can't speak for Paul, but
I resemble that remark.
Well, I think we all do at this point.
Well, you know what? They can call me whatever the hell they want. If they think we're wise, it's all good as far as I'm concerned.
You got it.
All right. Let's go ahead and talk, guys. We got 9 races to go through. Now, for everyone at home, we don't want the show to last 3 hours. I know a lot of you probably at home have done at least preliminary handicapping. Frankly, myself, Pete, and Paul have been handicapping literally all year long, to be honest. And we've been deep diving, of course, last few weeks into the internationals and other things. So we're not going to go through every horse. We're just going to go through our picks in general, try to highlight a few things. I mentioned this last night, guys. The rails are going to be down for the first time in several weeks at Santa Anita. Of course, they're going to be down on Friday, too. Watch Friday's turf races very, very carefully, ladies and gentlemen, because there may be, just maybe, a little bit of inner path bias. I'm not saying speed bias. I'm saying inner paths, which are going to be very fresh. That's something that I'm going to be looking out for. Pete and Paul, real quick, anything you're going to be specifically looking out for on Friday or early in the Saturday races, of which there's 2 of them, to help you for the Saturday card, Pete?
Yeah, no, I think what you said is true. I mean, I think we want to see how the track is playing. Is it sort of souped up and blazing fast? How's the speed holding? I mean, all the general things, but on these big weekends, there's generally something when you see something early, it tends to hold a little longer maybe on these weekends just because of the way the track is sort of souped up.
Yeah, and I agree, Pete. I think there have been Breeders' Cups, and I don't remember the year, but there was one year where, especially on Friday, there was a real speed bias. I can tell you that the weather is a 10.5 on a scale of 1 to 10. Nice. It's about 79 and sunny, and you need a Hubble telescope to see a cloud. So we will, you're not going to be able to tell anything, but I will be over there in the morning seeing how it looks. I'm looking very much forward to it. But I think Pete hit the nail on the head. How the track is playing in general, speed versus close. And hopefully it's playing right down the middle, right? That's what we all want.
Yep,
yes.
Sure. All right, let's get right to it, guys. So we got a lot to cover. Let me bring up the picks for the first Breeders' Cup race. Pete, didn't happen. The first Breeders' Cup race of the day. It's race 3. Here come our picks. Paul, hold on to your hat. Well, you don't have a hat, but you'll know why. I know. I can't help myself with this horse. But we'll talk about it. There's our picks. You're going to see picks scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Let me go ahead and bring up the entries for the first Breeders' Cup race of the day. It is the Big Ass Fans Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Of course, these are all grade 1s, ladies and gentlemen. Notice the post time. That's 11:30 local. So it's going to be, what is that, 12/1, 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. The Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. You got a field. Now, this field's going to change because Algiers is out. So it's
and Practical Move is out.
And, of course, Practical Move, unfortunately, is out. So it's going to be a field of 7. The 2 and the 7 are not going to be running for obvious reasons that people already know. You've got an absolute superstar, the number 3, Cody's Wish, making his very last start of his career. The sentimental favorite, the actual favorite, 9-5 morning line. Paul Halloran, I have to go to you first. Pete and Paul are, of course, both going with Cody's Wish. And as I go ahead and bring up the PPs here, let me make this also a little bigger for everyone, and then I'll bring you on screen also here, Paul. As I show the PPs of Cody's Wish, and again, one more time, because not everyone might know, your connection quickly with Cody's Wish and the family.
Yeah, I've been covering the horse, and you could see the Forego back on August 27th of last year, and I've kind of been on the story since then, and fortunate to be working on a book. The Dormans are on the way to the same function I am at, and so I've been wrapped up in it pretty good, but I don't want to give away my power picks summary, Howard, because people are paying their hard-earned money for it, but I literally just got done writing this up before I came to this event because, Pete, I didn't want to get my homework in late because then I got to stay after school with that pain in the ass, Mr. Kravitz, and I didn't want to do that. So, but we'll talk about the race. I mean, obviously, I think you can make a case that Practical Move was the next most likely winner, the ill-fated Practical Move. And there was a lot of buzz about Algiers, who just scratched last night. So 2 of the main competition out. Hey, it's a horse race. He got beat last time. There is a way for him to get beat. He gets too far behind in a race that's not fast enough. I don't think that's going to happen, but if you're, you could talk about Charge It Howard. I'm sure that's what you would be banking on if you're trying to beat Cody's Wish.
Well, I'll talk about Charge in a minute. Pete, is there anything you want to add to Cody's Wish? Now, this is a horse that, it feels like a lot of people are going to try to beat Cody's Wish. It is absolutely fair. I mean, it's obvious. Just look at the numbers. He might not be the same as he was earlier in the year. You could say there might be reasons, excuses, whatever. The bottom line, Pete, is he was running, mid to high hundreds, and now he's running 95 and just and a 100. He's been working great. He looks great. That doesn't necessarily mean anything in particular. You obviously feel like he's the winner of this race, though.
Well, I leaned, we probably talked about this on earlier shows, but I know I was leaning to where, aside from the story, he seemed like the kind of favorite you might try and beat because he was probably going to get pretty low. But now the field is just weak. I mean, this is no better than like a grade 2 at tops, aside from Cody's Wish in my eyes. So I look at this and I'm like, obviously a horse like Zozos or a horse like Charge It could get on the lead, like Paul said, back it down, slow it down. Cody's is a little too far back. To me, that's the only way, but it's not going to take his A+ effort, I don't think, to beat this field.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think his A- effort would do the job here. A B effort, I'm not sure would win this race. So it's going to be interesting to see. Guys, I'm going to go full screen here. There are 2 races this weekend, including Friday, that I hope I am completely wrong about with my handicapping on these preview shows. One race, of course, you guys know, is I've Shards at Friday in the in the juvenile turf sprint. I have him third, although I think that's a pretty realistic, finish. We all have a ownership piece of Shards. The other race, guys, is this one. Paul, I want Cody's Wish to win this with all my heart. I probably will not be betting a dime on this race and just watching, but at heart, I'm a hardcore handicapper. And when I look at this race, I just don't know if Cody's the same. And I have to go another direction and forget the 9 to 5. Actually, I didn't do this on the show last night, Paul, and I should have, but I do have some odds checker, anti-post odds available. Yeah. I'll make these a little bigger. I'll make this a little bigger also. And these are going to be pretty accurate. Right now, Cody's Wish, 5 to 6 odds on. I think that's pretty accurate. I think it's going to be, you could be as low as 3 to 5, guys. Would not surprise me.
Right.
Charge It. Look, I have some weird infatuation with this horse. I don't know why. I hear you, Pete. This could be one of my worst picks of the weekend. I'm just going to throw that out there. It might be. I also could be right, and this horse could win it at 6 to 1. The blinkers off doesn't bother me only because he's had blinkers off before. I don't usually like equipment changes in a big race, but it doesn't bother me. Guys, he's just been facing the best horses in this field. I don't think anyone's going to argue that. I'm not going to go down the list, but he's faced really good horses. I don't mind the blinkers off. I think he's going to sit right off of Proxy. My personal feeling is he's just as good as Proxy. I don't know if he's better, but just as good. And
you mean Zozos, not Proxy, right? You mean Zozos?
I'm sorry, I meant Zozos. My apologies. I think he's going to sit off of Zozos, who could win this race too. Strangely enough, guys, I think the key to the race are these 2 horses. Now, people are like, Charles B. What are you talking about? I actually placed a bet on this horse last time. He won on the lead in Maidan. He's been working well and fast. I wouldn't be shocked for the 8 shows speed. He doesn't have a chance to win, I don't think, but I'm just saying he's going to show speed. And the National Treasure, guys, could really heat things up because I think he has to go. If National Treasure goes, guys, and makes Zozos work very hard, I don't think Charger will be on the lead. They could go fast, and that would absolutely be beautiful for Cody. So in a weird way, I think the 8 and especially the 9 are the key to the race, Pete and Paul. Any thoughts on pace dynamic here?
I agree 100. I think the 9 is the key to the whole thing. It's a speed horse anyway, and from that post, I think that horse is a dead send from out there. And yes, I could not agree more. And I think that will be good for Cody if the 9, because Zozos is fast. I can't get over the interview with Brad Cox immediately after the act, and they said, "What do you think is next?" And he said, "Well, not the Breeders' Cup." So I just don't like it when plans change. But if the 9 doesn't go with the 4, now, he could take some catching.
Well, I don't think Chargers can be that far behind. He doesn't always break great, but my main thing with Charge, and then we're going to move on, guys. We're not going to take 25 minutes every race. Is I think he's better shorter. I know it's 2 turns, but this 2-turn mile, which by the way, I don't think he's ever done. I'd have to look. I don't think he's done a 2-turn mile. Might just be really good for him. So, guys, I'm taking a shot. I want to see Cody's Wish win for sure. Is he some kind of cinch? Not in my opinion, but I'll be rooting my butt off for Cody Dorman and the family. Kelly, Kylie, Leslie, the whole group. Let's go on, guys, to the next race of the sequence. I'll go and push some buttons. We will get to your chats, guys. We obviously cannot get to every single comment in the chat, but please talk to each other quite a bit, and we'll show some comments as we can. Let's go to the next race, guys. The next race is the Maker's Mark Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. I think this is a really interesting race. They're going 1.25 miles. That's interesting to know. So they start on a slight downhill and then a left-hand turn pretty quickly. You don't really want to be on the outside here. It might matter a little bit. It's a little bit underrated. This outside posts are not great going this 1.25 miles. You got a big field of 12. The morning line favorite is the very talented Euro number 6 in Spiral, John Godson, Frankie Dettori, but you also got In Italian on the rail with a lot of speed. Warm Heart, a very nice horse for Ian O'Brien. Many other interesting runners. Let me bring up our banner. Let me bring up our top picks. There they are. Pete, we're going to go to you first. I mean, there's no surprise that Pete's going with this horse if you've been following the show all along. And it's not necessarily, I'm not suggesting it's some kind of a pet of Pete. This is a really, really good horse. In Italian for Chad, and Rosario is going to try to wire the field. He almost did it last year, as you guys remember, at Keelan, finishing to second to Tuesday. Pete, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, and actually, excuse me, sort of what you talked about at the beginning about the rails and maybe if there's a little bit of an inside bias and then you start down the hill and you take that turn. I think having an Italian on the rail, all those factors might play into her just sort of cruising to the lead. Hopefully this time Rosario, I think he should do what he normally does, open her up a little bit. She hasn't been holding, so there's obviously a concern that maybe she's lost a little off the fastball, even though from a buyer standpoint, her last race was as good as she's had. And basically, it was her lifetime buyer top. She still ran great, but got run down even going 1 mile. But I think going the 1.25 miles, maybe, hopefully she gets the break. She'll get a break in the middle, and then in the lane will kick away. And then there's going to be a ton of great horses coming after her, but I'm hoping that just her on the lead with that inside rail, maybe there is a little bit of an inside bias on that speedy turf. She can kick away and sort of put some distance between her, and then see if they can run him down run her down like Tuesday did last year.
She's really good. She is absolutely a threat. People are like, Howard, you don't have an Italian in the top 3? No, I don't. But I have a ton of respect for her, and she can obviously win this race. Warm Heart, and I'll get your opinion on an Italian in a second, Paul. Warm Heart, Aiden O'Brien, Paul, with you and I specifically said that I don't want to put words in his mouth. You can watch the interview that we have with Aiden. He basically said they're not going to let an Italian get free. They know that that an Italian has got early speed. I do not expect Warm Heart to be like breathing down an Italian's neck, like shoulder to shoulder, in the first turn. But I'm assuming Ryan Moore is going to use, and Warm Heart does have some speed, not an Italian speed. So I think Warm Heart will be just sitting right off of an Italian if possible. The other thing I just want to mention is there is a little bit of other speed. Now, you never know what's going to happen. But Fev Rover, guys, who's in very good form, does have some red color-coded numbers, guys. I think Fev Rover might show some more speed than people think because, again, for the same reason. And then also Lumiere Rock, in a weird way, could be the key to the race for Joseph O'Brien. This horse also has shown a lot of speed. Now, it's European speed. I get it. But this horse also might show some speed. So I think an Italian's going to be loose.
Howard, you never know who you're going to see. You never know. You never know who is going to crash the podcast.
Why does that guy
look familiar? You hear him. Hold on. Let me take these out.
Even better.
So you can't hear him.
Why does that guy look familiar? Ladies and gentlemen, we have Breeders' Cup 2021 champ, Mr. Matt Miller, in the house. I had no idea it was coming on. Matt, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing terrific. Having a great time so far.
Paul, I didn't know you were going to a Rogaine convention. What's going on there? I didn't know that's what was happening.
It's not working.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the new and improved version. It's the Breeders' Cup version.
Anyway, you were saying, Howard, Matthew interrupted you, which he tends to like to do.
I tried.
Yeah. So, Matt Weathers, you've got out there safely. Real quick, Matt, we got you on here. It's going to be a great weekend. I know you're very excited, looking to win another Breeders' Cup betting challenge. Is there anything in particular you're looking forward to the most, other than I think your answer would be Shards, I would assume, on Friday?
Shards will be a out-of-body, different kind of experience for sure. I'd say otherwise, look, the spectacle of all these races, I say it every time, you don't have to play every race. These are super, super fun. And so even for those you're not playing, have your opinion and enjoy it. For me, the Cody's Wish race is the perfect example. I couldn't be rooting harder. I'm just going to pass from a betting perspective. I understand multis, you can't really do that, but I'm going to just try and pick my spots and otherwise have a good time with friends. Get out here quickly.
Yep. Well, I'll see you tomorrow, Matt. Really excited. Love you, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, I'm not moving, so just keep going.
Oh, all right. Well, Paul, do you want to put that? You guys can hear the show, okay? All right.
Yeah, I took the headphones out. Yeah.
All right, no problem. All right, well, just keep going. And Matt, you're welcome to chime in on, although you're a little bit off the screen. I don't know if you want to move to your left and maybe
cuddle up. You got to snuggle a little bit. Yes, you got to snuggle.
I was very concerned with the aesthetics.
Well, you know.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares but him. That's it. There we go. Now we got you.
Let's talk about Inspiral. This is our top pick. Myself and Paul, very, very talented horse for John Gosden and Tori, Paul.
Yeah, it is. And there's a lot of angles in this race, Howard. I'm going to go through them just a few quickly. First of all, to your point, at Santa Anita, 7 of 8 winners have been post position 1 through 6. So that supports your point about the outside not really being where you want to be. 3-year-old Euros can win this race. 3-year-old U.S. horses really don't. I don't think there are any in. The other thing is the Euro stretching out is typically a little bit of a better angle than the Euro cutting back, which is why I landed on Inspiral a little ahead of Warm Heart. But how about you got Inspiral with Frankie and Warm Heart with Ryan Moore, and then you throw in Italian, and I'm telling you, I'm not going to get beat by Didier. I mean, I don't know how much we'll talk, but that is a real horse, Didier. So this, and I just got finished writing this race too. So I will have nothing to contribute after this. But the 2 deep dives that you assigned me on Saturday were these first 2 races. So I'll sound reasonably intelligent. After that, I can't promise anything.
Again, people that need help with these Euros, go watch our show. 2 shows, one with Aidan O'Brien and one with Davey Lane, our international entry show. Now, I asked Davey specifically, who's an excellent punter, handicapper from the UK, about Inspiral, because the stretch out surprised me. I thought she would go to the mile, and I'm slight concern. Like you said, Paul, these horses can stretch out. She has a wicked close. She is a monster closer, but she's not going to come from like 20 back. She's somewhat tactical and just got a wicked close. I think I'm not concerned about the distance with this horse. Frankie's going to time it out well. The reason I don't like an Italian, Pete, in this particular spot is they all know what an Italian wants to do. And although she might go slow early, I have a feeling like, the back stretch, they're going to start moving up. And I just don't think they're going to let an Italian get away with soft, like maybe 1 soft fraction early, but not 2 and 3. That's my opinion. And I don't think an Italian has seen, she has seen the likes of these Euros last year, where she ran very well. I'm just against an Italian on the win end. My sort of interesting horse in this race is Lindy. I think Lindy is really interesting, and if there's a big upset, to me, it's this horse. I was super impressed with Lindy, guys, against Mauge at Keeneland when she was closing like a train going 1 mile and 1/8. But take a look at Lindy back in Europe. She was a miler. She almost won the French 1,000 Guineas. She's very good, facing Blue Rose Sen, who was a very nice horse out there. I don't love the quick turnaround in general, but I think this horse is very talented. And if someone upsets the apple cart to me, I'd rather go with an up-and-coming 3-year-old Paul like Lindy over a more established older horse like Didia. But I do respect Didia as well. Pete, final thoughts. We've actually covered every horse that we've had on the screen. Any final thoughts, Pete, and then we'll move on.
No, I think everything we said is about right. I think it's a great race. I think it's pretty top heavy with really good horses, but even the ones on that step below can I think could hit the board. I don't know if there's a ton of there's some winners. There's some that I think could hit the board, not necessarily on the win end, but I think the 3 top horses are as good as they get. So we should be in for just an awesome race as a fan. And not a bad betting race. I mean, you're getting great horses at, even if you get in Spiral at 5-2, 3-1, which she could easily be. I mean, that's great value on a horse that's this talented, that's running 9 straight Group 1s. I think won 6 of them. You're getting a horse at that quality at those odds. I mean, you can't ask for much more than that.
There's no way an Italian's 8-1 Saturday. Absolutely no way. In fact, I'll go on a limb and say that In Italian might be the second choice over Warm Heart. Matt Miller, you agree with that statement?
I'm going to do my best to make that the case.
Wow.
Nice, Matt.
Okay, well, send it in. Matt Miller In Italian. There you go, Pete. You got new best friend.
All the Italian money goes to bookies, so it doesn't count in the actual odds. So we don't really like to bet the legal way.
It's not part of the parimutuel pool.
Yeah,
right?
It's not in the parimutuel pool. No, it's in the break your leg pool. That's what that one is.
All right. Well, let's go on to the next race here, guys. Next race, I'm going to bring it up on the screen. Let's take the banners down and let's go to the next race. This race is not very wide open at all. In fact, there's a horse in here that's going to be very tough to beat, at least in my opinion. Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, 7 furlongs for the girls, $1 million. Field of 9, big favorite on the inside. Goodnight Olive, the 1. Chad and Irad. Let's see if anyone is trying to beat this horse. This is right here. It's race right there, right? Yep.
No,
I realized I'd race 4. Oh, no, that's not the race. What did I do here? My bad.
Equibase is correct. The banner is wrong. There you go.
Race 5. Okay, my bad. Oh, you know what? I had the races in order on my screen. That's so weird. Okay. There it is. Pete is going to try to beat. Paul, I'm going to let you go first. Yep. Goodnight Olive. The rail is not my most favorite spot to be, but this field is just a bunch of meh to me in general. And I think Goodnight Olive, short of a tough trip, is going to be extremely difficult to beat here.
Yeah, one of the advantages of a 5.5-hour flight, Howard, is you can get a lot of handicapping done. And I went into this race kind of liking Society as Pete has picked, and I still do. I mean, I really. I can't say I want her at 5-2, but after doing the proverbial deep dive, boy, I think she's going to be tough to beat. Goodnight Olive. One thing that's important, we talk about people getting caught up with ones. She ran the best race of her life last time, putting up a 108. She lost to the otherworldly Echo Zulu. The race that she lost at Churchill, Howard, we were there for that. That's the worst trip of the last, 20 or 30 years of a horse getting. I mean, that was just a horrific trip. This horse ran last time. This horse tried to run with Echo Zulu. She ran, and she was just beaten by a superior horse. As Matt points out, Kafefi from the 1 managed to maneuver. So I went into the race, the deep dive, thinking I might try to beat her. I think I'm all in on her after taking a deeper look at it.
This is her last race. Here's Echo Zulu, who was just fantastic this year. And like you said, Goodnight Olive into a pretty fast pace is chasing. Matarea for Godolphin is right here, who's also in this race. And these two pretty much spurred away. But I mean, Echo Zulu, you look at these fractions, 108 and change. I mean, sure, Goodnight Olive lost, but I don't think she really lost much in defeat. Oh. That was really a huge effort. And the thing I'm going to say here, Paul, and I looked at this race, I looked at every race very carefully. I'm like, okay, so how can Goodnight Olive lose? Well, it's a horse race, obviously. The main reason I'm against Society, who is the obvious second choice, and again, you're going to hear a broken record for me, can win. It's the Breeders' Cup. These are all very nice horses. I'm sure Pete's going to give an excellent case for Society, which we'll talk about in a minute. Society has to get the lead. If Society does not get the lead, she has absolutely no chance. She's one way. And why I don't like Society, I think there's other speed in this race. Okay, don't laugh. Clearly Hinge is not nearly as good, but she has to go. That's all I'm saying. She has to go. You think Bob Baffert's going to rate Ida with blinkers on? She absolutely has to go, and at least in the first quarter mile might be as fast as Society. So to me, and Mikkel Yell, by the way, has got some speed, but I don't think she's going to go. To me, the 2 and 3 are going to make life difficult for Society, at least at some point in the race. I will know, and I think, Pete, you'll know too, and I'm going to let you talk here in just a second, and Paul will know, in the first 3 to 4 jumps, if Society has a chance. And if she clears Pete, she absolutely has a chance to win this race.
Yeah, I mean, if you're picking Society like I have, you're counting on that. So obviously that's not always a guarantee. We've seen it many times where the obvious speed doesn't get the lead, doesn't clear, and sort of doesn't run the race that you expect. The hope here, I think Goodnight Olive is the best horse. I think Goodnight Olive has the best chance to win. Again, I'm taking a shot with, if this horse does get on the lead, she's just tough to catch, especially going 7. I mean, Goodnight Olive beat her going 7 earlier this year, but she did face pressure a little bit in that race. And I'm thinking this time, if she can clear, because she's on the outside, so there won't be that sort of outside pressure. So if she can just get over, clear, I doubt the other horses are going to then rush up to get her, at least on the backstretch. So I'm hoping that she just can kick away. And then if Goodnight Olive from the rail has a little bit of trouble or whatever, or just isn't as sharp as she has been, maybe she doesn't get the chance to run her down. But to me, I like the 2 top horses. It's not saying much. They're the 2 chalks for a reason in my book.
The other thing, Paul, I want to just push back a little bit with Society, because again, she's going to be bet hard here. Her last 2 wins were on a very speed favoring Ellis track and a ridiculously speed favoring Charlestown track. So not that Santa Anita is actually.
I'm going to say, what if we have a nice speed favoring Santa Anita track? We don't know.
Well, then I might need to adjust, right? I mean, we don't know. Obviously, you got to go with the flow. But she's been doing it on speed favoring tracks, and also, Pete, and you're very astute with this, not a lot of red color-coded figures in her PPs, which means she's been getting away with relatively soft or average level fractions. Paul, I got Matarea 2nd, and I know you guys got Kirschenbach 3rd, who actually I bet last time and won at a nice price. Usually, guys, this is a horse I like because there's a lot of speed and she could come up from behind. I just don't think she classes up at all, and that's why I don't have Kirschenbach in here. But I think Matarea on a fast surface, getting off the rail, has some numbers that are maybe interesting if something happens to Goodnight Olive. I'm going to be playing, maybe in the BC, Paul, a pretty big 1-4 exacta, trying to get a little bit of value underneath not using Society. Final thoughts, Paul or Pete? Paul, I'll let you go first in this.
Yeah, one thing when you were talking about the speed, Howard, I think the 9's the key. The 9, I think, is a definite send from out there, and I think that the horse that poses the most problem for Society.
Okay.
So
I don't. It is Santana, right? I mean, what is he going to sit?
Yeah, it's Santana. It's the far outside. And Howard, believe me, I love Matarea. You know, and I see the argument, and I know she only lost to Echo Zulu and Goodnight Olive. She has not run very well the last 2 races, and compared to how she can run. So I mean, look, that's a Godolphin horse. I'll be using her, but I don't see her as a win threat.
I understand it. I don't mind the layoff, and she's been working unbelievably. I know these are works, but 111 breezing. I mean. We'll see. I don't know. I could be very wrong, but Society, it looks like it's a 2-horse race on paper, at least on the win end. I am going to be, again, not the most clever opinion here. I just think of the weekend and of Saturday, Goodnight Olive is one of the best, most likely winners, maybe even more likely than Tamara on Friday, which I know might sound ridiculous in theory, but not for me.
Well, I think the field behind Goodnight Olive is worse than the field behind Tamara. I would agree with that a little bit. I think she may be a little bit further ahead of them than Goodnight Olive is of maybe Society, but maybe not. So I don't know. I think on paper I thought Goodnight Olive was going to be the most obvious choice, but why not?
Yep. All right, let's move on, guys. Let's go. That'll be a interesting race. Steve Goodnight gets. By the way, she would be repeating as Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint champion, which would be extremely impressive. Let's go on next race, race 6, the Breeders' Cup Mile. One of my favorite races all year long. Although this year it's a little bit weird, and we'll talk about why. $2 million. You got boys, you got girls, you got 3-year-olds, you got older horses. It's really a fascinating race. It's a big field of 14. And I got to scroll down because the bottom horse is a horse that we all know, but not the favorite. The morning line favorite is the Japanese horse, a very nice mare, number 10, Songline, the best mare in Japan, one of the best mares actually in the world. She is a monster closer. She's very good. She's a superstar in Japan. Let's go ahead and show our picks here for race 6. There they are on the bottom of the screen. Pete, you're going to go first. We are all over the map in this race. Pete is going with the old reliable Casa Creed for Mott and Saez, a 7-year-old, 8-1, as we see in the odds right now. All he does is run well. He's won his last, I think, 2. We'll go to the PPs here. Pete, you think Casa Creed is going to win the Breeders' Cup Mile?
You know, I hate to sound like a homer because I'm basically picking like all my favorite horses in some of these races, but Casa Creed has just been super sharp. And I mean, in a race where you're looking for, I mean, in the Breeders' Cup, you always want you want horses that are coming in at their sharpest and they're going to peak right then. And I don't know, this horse, he's like you said, he's 7 and he seems to be running just as well as he ever has. He has a nose for the wire. If there's anything happening up front, he's going to be coming, and he's going to be coming, you know, strong, and he's going to be coming with to put that nose down first. And I think Saez will be aggressive enough to keep him. I like the last 2 trips that he's gotten in the past. Sometimes he would be a little bit too far out of it, even 3 races back, which was sprinting. So he was a little too far back. I love the trip he got in the last 2 where he sat closer. Even last race, it was up on a pretty hot pace. He was sitting closer, and he's just able to kick by. And he's so game. And he's just, like I said, I hate to repeat it, he has a nose for the wire, and I think he can do it again here. I mean, the Songline is super tough, and he almost ran her down last year when they faced each other. So I'd like to just see him do it one more time for the old guy.
Here he is running down Annapolis, and I mean, what are you going to say? I mean, he's just really good. He's done it overseas too, Pete. I mean, he's
he's gone.
traveler.
That's the thing. He's gone overseas
cool
and run really well. So it's not like, oh, the Euros are going to come over and super outclass him. I mean, he's gone over there and done it as well. So I mean, he's proven at all distances. He's proven at all tracks. So there's not a ton you could say against him. Maybe you don't like him, but you know, he's as good as it gets when you talk about just a sustaining racehorse.
I do want to point out for our very astute handicappers, viewers, listeners of the show. Yes, Casa Creed has gone overseas and done well, but those were at 6 3/4. They were not at a mile. I just want to point that out.
Yeah.
That he is facing other horses, although he did face Songline last year, who just barely beat him, but Songline's better going further. So I just want to throw that out there that Casa Creed has done well, you know, in the Middle East, but those are 6 3/4 races. I love the post here for Casa Creed, Pete, and I love Saez, knows this horse well. We'll see if he can class up against this field and win. It would be an unbelievable story if Casa Creed wins the Breeders' Cup Mile. Paul, you're going to go to the 6, who I have in 3rd. You really like Mauge. Mauge is absolutely fascinating horse. Won last time on the lead in the QE2, beating Lindy, who we just talked about, is going 1.25 miles. She's got back form in Europe that is really good. She's an improving 3-year-old, very similar to Lindy, just in a different race here. And I think she is a serious threat in a race that, frankly, Paul, doesn't have a ton of early speed, because usually in this race we see like really fast horses, right? Like at Santa Anita, we see 22-4, like 45-2 in this race. On paper, it doesn't look like it's going to happen on Saturday.
Yeah, I really think that was a very good prep for this. The Keeneland race, led every step, put up a 99. You got to think that was off a 5-month layoff. You have to think that Marge is very likely going to move forward off of that. There have been 11 3-year-olds to win this race. 9 of them have been Euros. So, and I still count this horse as a Euro, even with the 1 U.S. start. Ocean Murphy, we talked about the other night, Howard, I think is as good as it gets over there. I don't mind the 21-day layoff. If you go way back in our PPs, back last year, June 17th to July 8th, that's about a duplicate of this 21-day layoff. I think the mile is the right trip. This race is traditionally, typically won by a mile specialist. So, yeah, I do like Montage quite a bit in this race.
I have a lot of respect for this horse. I like her. I'm using her everywhere. I don't think she has to have the lead. She might not have the lead. There is some speed on the outside. Again, we're not going through the whole field. There's some sneaky speed on the outside that I think Mouch could, though, sit in a beautiful trip here. And that last race that we watched Paul and Pete again was a mile and 1/8. I'm not sure. That's the furthest she's ever gone off a layoff. So that was like a tightener, and she won it. This is a really talented horse. Speaking of talented, guys, I thought about who I want to go with the top pick quite a bit. And Gina Romantica is the kind of horse that usually I'd be against because it's a filly with a big top last time. And usually I try to bet against these horses. But you know what, guys? I was there in person. This was not a fluke. She ran down an Italian, Pete. I mean, it was super impressive. She got a great trip, no doubt. But Chad Brown has said before that race that he likes Gina Romantica. She's really never been that kind of horse, and then she absolutely explodes. And what I really like about this horse is 2 things. 3 things. I like Tyler. I like the 2 holes can be perfect because I think she's going to set a great trip in theory. And the other thing I really like, and I think this is something that needs to be mentioned, this work down here, it's a little bit hard to see. This work down here, she's come back out of that race feeling good. The first work out of that race was a maintenance, and then she breezed 47. I really don't think, guys, that Chad would take a horse into this spot that is tired or can't handle it or whatever. This is very much an in Chad I trust kind of play for me. That doesn't mean she's going to win. Maybe she's going to finish 6th. I don't know. But in a field that doesn't blow me away, I love an up-and-coming 4-year-old. You already talked about the age. I like a younger horse in this spot. I'm going to take a chance with Giro Romantica, and Pete, I might get double digits.
Oh, I think you will, just because it's so top heavy. I think you definitely will. And you wonder with this horse. I mean, I like the pick too. You wonder with this horse if they just should have been running her, like if a mile is what she really wants to do. Now she's versatile enough to run at different distances, but is this mile where she's strongest? And maybe that's what came out last time, and maybe that's what you'll see here.
I mean, 14. If she's 14, I know Matt Miller looks like he's emptying his pocketbook on I'm sorry, what horse? On an Italian, right?
Italian. Yeah.
I don't know about emptying my pocketbook, but if Gina Romantica is 14, wow. Let's talk about Master of the Seas, guys. We have to talk about this horse before we move on to the next race. Master of the Seas gets the 14. Paul, you do have Master of the Seas in your top 3. Master of the Seas is going to be very interesting here. This is an absolutely brutal post. He might have to take back a little bit further than he wants to.
Yeah, I think that this horse is going to get lost a little on the tote board because of that. Bob and I were talking about this. Bob Mullins is also here with us, Howard. We were talking about that before we came over. I think this horse is going to get lost a little bit because of the post, but I would not sleep on this horse. The only other thing is this horse runs better off layoffs, and the last race was less than a month ago, so that's potentially a negative. But also, it's a class. You know, we Up to the Mark is the best U.S. turf horse, so theoretically no shame in losing to Up to the Mark last time. I will be playing this horse defensively because of the post. If this gelding were in a different post, I would be playing him very offensively.
Pete, I'm going to let you end the conversation with some double digit horses, not odds, but by the numbers. Here's Songline's PPs. You have to watch her replay. She's just really consistent and really good. But she's 5-2, but if you look at her time form numbers, they're really about the same as a bunch of others. So that's my only hesitancy. Plus, it's a mile at Santa Anita, Pete. I mean, it's very trip dependent. So I like her a lot. I'm just I wouldn't take too low a price on her for those people that like this horse.
No, I agree with you. I think she's probably on the same level with some of the others, and you never, we're not always used to the horses that they're running against over in some of the Japanese races, so we don't know how strong those fields are and how strong she's going against. She does come from the back, which usually means you never know. Something can happen up front. They can get away. You can get stuck in traffic. You don't have a U.S. jock in some of these where, sometimes they're not as used to. I mean, this is a left-hand going horse, though, so at least it's not like some of the others who are used to going straight. But you just never know. And I don't think she towers over the field. So I think she's a worthy favorite, though, and she's done enough on the world stage to warrant the price that she'll be and to be near the top of most people's tickets. I mean, I don't think you leave her off a ticket in any stretch of the imagination.
No, Kalina's up and comer from France who just beat Kinross in the Prix de la Forêt, which is the main a Group 1 in the main prep. Well, not a prep for this race. It's a fantastic race in its own right. She might be improving and interesting.
And has two wins on firm turf, by the way, like actual firm turf. So may like the firm when she comes over.
She's got a nice turn foot too. These French horses on this firm turf is going to be fun to watch. I'm going to let you end with more than looks in this race. I was ready to take this horse on top, Pete. I really was. I love this horse's effort last time. It was unbelievable close at Churchill. Very legitimate, and I saw her in person. Him in person. Oh boy, there I did it. I saw him in person at Saratoga. I was 5 feet away from him in the paddock. This post though is just boy. But I think he can make a run late, and if he gets the right trip, he's not impossible to win this race at big odds.
No, I mean I have him in my top 3. I have him as sort of an A. He's an A in my book, so he's on my. I have about 5 A's in this race, unfortunately, but he's on my top line. Yeah, and I, me, he's one of my favorite kind of horses because he's just going to run from the back and he's going to give it a. I mean, the whole key is though from the 13, what does he do? And it's got Rosario. You never know what he's going to do with a closer. Sometimes he gets him held up. So if this horse though, that's the good thing though. From the 13, he's not looking to gun out and get a spot. So he can just drop to the rail, make his run, and hopefully, like you said, there is some pace in here. So if the pace can heat up a little bit, he's going to be coming. I wouldn't leave him out of my tries and my supers for sure, especially if you're getting him at 15 plus.
I agree with what Maiden Focus said. More than looks just going to drop back anyway.
Exactly.
I understand that, Maiden, but there's still 12 horses inside of him. There's no guarantee he's just going to drop to the rail. I mean, that's a there's other horses that like to close also. So Dewey fans here likes Kalina. Chris likes Astronomer, who's one of those horses that does show speed. Chris M, thanks for joining the show. Again, there's a lot of great things going on in the chat. Let's go on to the next race, guys. Next race, as I bring it up on the screen, the girls again. This is the Distaff, a race I've been looking forward to actually for quite a while. Grade 1, of course. Field of 11, big bulky field. Morning line favorite is the number 4, Idiomatic for Cox and Drew. She's been absolutely awesome all year long. The big question with Idiomatic, guys, is she as good as she looks, or has she been winning because there's been some soft trips? That's up for the better to decide. Let's bring up our banners on the screen for race 7. Pete Visco, Pete, you cheeky boy. Listen, you and I, let's go back, Pete, to a few months ago. Do you remember this? You and I, after Clarier's last race, we were so down and disappointed, and we were like, we can't take Clarier in the Breeders' Cup. And look what happens months later. A few good works, Pete, and really good works.
Yeah.
And a bunch of early speed, and bam, we're going with Clarier in, I believe, her last race of her career. Pete, talk about Clarier, a really likable mare.
Well, again, I'm the broken record. I'm just taking my favorite horses. So it's basically, I don't even need to handicap. I just need to look at my favorite horse list and just pick them to win. And I could be happy. The one thing I do like, the one thing that she's had against her, and she's overcome it in some races, is she overcomes. Look at all the blue. You have it up now. Look at all the blue coded time form fractions.
Yeah.
She's generally running into a slow pace, and that makes it hard on a horse that's basically a one-run closer. Also, she's running in short fields. Short fields are a lot easier for a horse to just sort of wire because there's less chance of other horses generally going out with the speed, and you could see that from the pace. Now we get a full field. We have at least 3 horses whose only shot to win this race and have the talent to do it is on the lead. So they have to go. And the hope is they do. Now, what'll wind up happening is only one will go and they'll run around like a merry-go-round. But my idea is let's get some pace in front of her. We get some horses up there that are going to challenge the leaders, and she's going to be able to kick to the outside. I got Joel again, counting on him for another closer, and I think she can roll by as long as the works prove that she's still sharp and those last 2 are sort of aberrations. That's the hope. I mean, we always say with the mares, when they go, but her works are showing that maybe she's just not ready to give up racing just yet.
Well, I mean, let's look at her last 2 real quick. Okay, she lost to Nest, who got loose on the lead that day or was up close. I mean, so
yeah, that's
that
not the
race
worst.
To me, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Now, the last race was bad in the personal ends, and obviously, maybe she didn't like the track. I mean, I don't know.
The slop is the thing that, yep, I agree with you.
Yeah. We talked about the track, Pete. To me, of all the horses I like Saturday, this is the one that I'm most worried about based on the track and the way it plays. Because if speed's playing, I don't think Clear Air's got much of a shot. But take a look at this race, Paul. Look at the speed in this race, and you've got a closer also. So, Paul, you sort of agree with us. You're just going with a different horse. Who's your filly has blinkers on? Amos and Saez?
Pending.
She's going.
Amos,
right? She has to go.
all but said.
Idiomatic is not like dead speed, but she's going to be up close.
Yeah.
Adair Manor is absolute speed for Baffert. She's going for sure, right? Search results will be a little bit off, but she's not slow. What is Randomized doing? Not going? I mean, especially with search results in there, guys, as the other Chad. Don't you think that that's even more reason why Randomized has to go and Chad will let search sit a little bit? So, look, there's going to be speed in this race. I don't know if it's going to be like 2 years ago, guys, when Marshall Lorraine won in a complete meltdown at Del Mar, and I was there in person 41. But I have a hard time believing someone's going to get loose in this race or even win up close. And that's why, Paul, you're going with a horse that has been really good all year. I won't say under the radar. She's been the best 3-year-old filly, at least going 2 turns, other than, of course, the faded Maple Leaf Mel, who was a complete monster sprinting. You're going with Pretty Mischievous. You've been very consistent all year, Paul, in liking this horse.
Yeah, and I haven't written on my PPs fast enough ? Obviously, a 96 top. It may be that she's not quite fast enough, but I am pretty sure a closer is going to win this race. And I don't want to rain on your parade, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be Clary Air. Nest was running so well that she's since been retired. And the last race, she would be the first progeny of Curlin ever not to like an off track. So, look, I like her as a horse. I will never speak ill of a daughter of Curlin, but I just don't think in this race she's the right closer. So yeah, I'm gonna hope that Pretty Mischievous is fast enough. It's been very consistent, as you point out, Howard. Won the Oaks, ran very well. Got caught in the Fairground Oaks, but that's the race that they decided to put the blinkers on after that, and she's been a different horse since then. Brendan Walsh, Tyler, and I like the price.
And Pete, you like her too. So again, that's the great thing about this show. And everyone at home, if you're new to the show, we have a lot of great new viewers and listeners this last week for sure. We don't talk before the show. I don't talk to Pete and Paul and say, who do you like? Let's just argue with each other on purpose. Sometimes we love horses together, obviously. Sometimes we don't. I am completely against Pretty Mischievous on the win end. Pretty Mischievous on the win end. I think she can close and be a factor, maybe second, probably third or fourth, in my opinion. Pete, you do agree with Paul. You're going with another closer here, the same one as Paul, for second.
Yeah, but I had a really hard time with this race, in all honesty, because I don't love some of the horses. I don't love Pretty Mischievous because I'm just not sure she's fast enough on the top end. She'll have to run basically her best race. She'd have to outrun what she did in the Acorn and what she did in the Oaks by a decent amount if everyone else runs their A game. So that scares you. But again, at a price in a race where I think the speed can burn out, and if the speed burns out, all hell can just break loose. And then whoever gets the trip and whoever's running hardest late can sometimes get up. So I don't love it. And I think we're going to talk about
maybe this horse, Pete, at like 20 to 1.
That's who Paul. I know that's who Paul has. She was the last horse I added on my
Paul's
pick
got her
5
third.
ticket when we went up to, when I knew we were going up to 150. Paul, Wet Paint was the last horse I added to my pick 5 ticket. So
Yeah, but Pete, that's just gets to the Godolphin horse, and Paul, like by contract, has to.
I
like,
mean, he has
No,
to. He's got
I'm telling
no.
you, the race
He's
is
got no
falling
other thing
apart.
to do.
The race is falling apart. Remember,
Good.
this horse, Wet Paint was way ahead of Pretty Mischievous in the eyes of most people going into the spring. So
Yep.
this horse will be running late. Again, I don't know if she's fast enough. It has, Howard, your famous reverse tri-key. It has all written over her.
I agree with that. My thing with Pretty Mischievous, and we need to give our opinions so that people can compare my opinions with your opinions, etc. The 3-year-old distance fillies, just in general, is
Yeah,
I don't think
fair.
they're that good. I mean,
Yeah,
if she
that's
was that
fair.
good, she runs down Ceiling Crusher. Now you could say, okay, it was a sloppy track.
No,
and
that was.
Crusher got loose. I get it, but Paul, that's a horse. That's a race she's supposed to win. So she can't go by Ceiling Crusher, and now she's going to beat even better older fillies. Maybe I'm wrong about Pretty Mischievous. I don't think she's good enough. I like the horse a lot. I just don't think she's good enough. Now let's talk quickly about the 4 and 5. We're going to move on, guys. Idiomatic. I don't know what kind of trip she's going to get. I am fully convinced, guys, fully. And we all like this horse. This is the best horse in the race. Does that mean she's going to win? Of course not. To me, I don't think she has to have the lead. 3 back in the Delaware in the Del Cap, not a great field. She did stumble and close. I see no reason why this horse can't close a little bit off it. This is the best horse. I'm using her all over the place. Last comment I'm going to make, guys, and then we'll move on unless you have a comment. I am so against Adair Manor in this race. I can't even begin to tell you. Mike in the chat, Mike Carmoli, Adair Manor has been running in small fields. Forget the small fields, although, Mike, you are correct. Look who she's been facing. These West Coast older and fillies and mares, she's been beating Desert Dawn, Kirstenbosch, Bellamore, and it's been slow paces on the lead against not very good horses. If Adair Manor wins this race, guys, this will be as wrong as I will be the entire weekend. I mean, I dislike this horse completely. I think she's got no shot. She's like an extreme backup seahorse for me. Final thoughts from you two.
I agree with Adair Manor. I agree on Adair Manor.
Hey, we agree on something. All right.
Yeah, you're going to be exactly half right in the race. Wrong about Clairiere and right about Adair Manor. Congratulations.
I don't like all this Clairiere slander, Paul. By the way, I'm just not. I'm just not into
take it
this
easy
here.
with
In her
Clairiere.
last race,
Really.
You don't hear me bad mouthing Cody's Wish, beating up on bums in the Vosburg. We don't hear about that.
I mean, no one on this show is trying to beat Cody's Wish with their pick.
Wait, maybe.
Well, anyway.
Maybe we are.
All right. No, I'm not trying to beat Cody's Wish. I want Cody's Wish to win the damn thing. I just have to give my handicapping it then. All right, guys, race 8. This is the penultimate race before the Classic, and we're going to be bringing on some special guests here. So, guys, we'll take about 10 minutes through this race. Our wonderful friend, the host of Bet and Booze in Kyle Roscoe, who is a little younger in age, and he's early to mid-20s, thinks that this race is literally the best race he's ever seen. Now, if you're 24, 25 years old, it's hard for me to argue that. This is one of the best groups of Euros we have ever seen in this race. This race is going to be something else. Wow. The Longines Breeders' Cup Turf, of course, it's grade 1. This is $4 million. It's a field of 13, and there are some seriously talented Euros and one extremely talented U.S. horse that I know someone on this panel likes for sure. The Moorline favorite here is the number 9, Mustadaf, for Gosden and Jim Crowley, who's been off for a while. Let's see who we're going in race 8. Here it is coming up on the screen, and two of us are going with Augusta Rodin. And Pete, we're going to let you go first. You're going to try to represent the U.S. contingent. You've liked this horse for a long time, and what is there not to like? Up to the Mark, Pletcher, and Irad.
Yeah, I love this horse, and again, I love closers coming off the pace, and I think with Up to the Mark, we were thinking of how great he was before he had he had some injury troubles. He was off for a while. Before that, we were talking about, hey, this is one of the, this is almost potentially, could he be like a bricks and mortar type U.S. horse who, when he gets to the Breeders' Cup, can actually challenge the top Euros that come over? Then he was gone for a while. We missed him. We didn't know. You didn't know if he was going to come back. Then he comes back, going a mile, maybe not what he really wanted to do. He likes a little bit more distance off that layoff, and he runs down Master of the Seas in a thrilling, fantastic race, as we'll see on the screen here. So as you could see, yeah, he is the
5 on the outside. Coming.
Here he comes.
He's right here. Right here. Now, Pete, I was at Keeneland. I'm like, he's not going to win this race.
I mean, look at the athleticism, right? I mean,
not only the athleticism, Pete, this ride, Pete and Paul, where he follows Master of the Seas and like just, streamlines behind him. This is a world-class ride. I could not believe that Up to the Mark got there. Here's Master of the Seas, who's not exactly a bum, runs this horse down off the layoff. Pete, this is super impressive.
I mean, this was unbelievable. I mean, I remember just screaming at the TV watching him go by, because just from where he was, and you just didn't expect the sharpness, and then to run the way he did, and Jose gave him a fantastic ride. Now unfortunately, he gets a jockey downgrade to Irad. Oh no, actually, that's actually an upgrade especially with a horse coming off the pace. So I think if you're going to get a price on a horse that we think could be great and just maybe forgot about, and we get a little bit, obviously we all love the Euros that come over and they generally dominate this race, but that doesn't mean that they have to. And I'll take a price on Up to the Mark to find out.
Again, as of right now, trading an 8-1 overseas, that is
not good.
Very Davy Lane, line 1, Davy Lane. Right, Pete? You should give him a call.
I mean, I really should, right? Yeah, that's unbelievable.
I don't. What a price is Up to the Mark going off at though? Post.
I mean, I don't think he's going to go that much lower. I think 5, 6, 6. What do you think?
No.
I think. Well,
I think everyone loves the Euros. Oh, you think? Because everybody I listen to loves the Euros, and they're going to bet at least the top 2.
Remember, he's the only U.S. horse who has a chance in this race.
4-1, Pete. Everyone put in the chat, put in the live chat, what are the post-time odds for Up to the Mark? He's 5-1 morning line. I say 4. Pete, you say more like what, 6 or 8? You say?
I like the morning line. I think he's going to hover right around that.
Paul, what do you think? I say 4-1.
9-2 tops.
Okay.
And I take him at any of them. I don't care. I'm taking. Right. I mean, the win's a win. I don't. I'm not looking for value in a race where I got the winner, and I know the other horses that I think have the best shot to win might be lower.
Horsey Dave, yes, Get Smokin' is scratch. That does take a lot of speed out of the race. Balladeer will have the lead, the 12. I don't think he's got a chance to wire the field, but that does take some speed out of the race, actually. So I thought there could be a pace meltdown, but it's not. It doesn't look like it's going to be that way. Pete, I'm going to let you make one more comment on this horse, then I'm going to go to Paul. Never been the 1.5 miles. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's always a concern, but the way he runs and the power that he finishes his races with, I'm gonna take the shot based on his breeding that I think he can get it. But again, you never know until they do it. So It's always a question.
Yep. Paul, the astute handicapper that you are, of course, we have the same 3 in the same order. Yep, that's right. I'm going to go first. Here because I'm going to put us full screen. Guys, this is my play of the weekend.
Oh boy.
This is my most likely winner of the entire weekend based on the
That's back. You got mad interested.
Wait, what?
Augusta Rodin, based on the odds, is my best play of the weekend. I'm not saying Augusta Rodin is the most likely winner of the weekend. I'm saying based on the odds that he's going to be 5-2, 3-1. I love Augusta Rodin. This is, Matt, I'll say it right now in front of everyone. If I'm having a good day in the BCBC, this could be an all-in play for me. And I know it's a little bit risky, guys, because there's other really nice horses in this race. But that's exactly why, because I'm going to get the value I want. And I have slight knocks against some of the other Euros. And I just don't think Up to the Mark is that good at a mile and a half. I could be wrong. Matt, you look like you want to say something.
Just tone it down. You've got me convinced, and I don't need everyone else playing it too.
Okay. All right. Shh. No
Matt, don't do it, Max. Move on to the next race. Don't do it.
I also like Italian, so there.
Listen, I love what Aiden had to say. I've watched literally the last 4 or 5 replays from start to finish. This is not a plotter. This is not someone that's going to be coming from 20 back. This is a horse that breaks well. Aiden is not stupid. Ryan Moore knows this horse. They're going to put this horse, 3 or 4 lengths back. in a comfortable spot. Let Balladeer go. He'll be in the second flight. He's going to get first run on Mostadov, guys. He's better than Ernesto. I personally think he's better than Up to the Mark, who's going to have to launch from a little bit further back. I think Augusta Rodin, Matt Miller gets first run, and we don't know for sure, but this horse has been training great. He's going to love the firm turf. He's an improving 3-year-old. He's a dual classic winner. He basically won the Kentucky Derby and the Belmont or Preakness of the European racing scene. I love Augusta Rodin, and if this horse is 5-2, I will be licking my chops. And Matt Miller, if I'm out of the BC, you can guarantee a big win bet and double is coming, whether I'm in the contest or not, with Augusta Rodin. Paul, you've got this horse on top also.
So for those people who aren't Howard whisperers and who don't understand the keywords he uses, he just used about every keyword that I know for bet the shit out of this horse. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm going to leave you alone.
I do. One other thing, Paul. We got to watch him in the post parade. He's gotten a little hot before. He's a 3-year-old. It's a new scenery. I'm gonna watch the pre-race routine very quickly. I'm gonna see how he is in the paddock. But anyway, I love this horse. Go ahead, Paul.
I like him. Although I do think Mostadov is formidable.
Yeah.
And I think Up to the Mark is formidable. But I do like him. I was kind of sold when Aiden said, quote, he's a really serious racehorse.
Yeah, that was Aiden O'Brien said that.
That kind of made my decision. 8 European 3-year-olds have won this race. This is a race that if you're a 3-year-old Euro, you can win. Only 2 U.S. and none in the last 25 years, and I don't think there's any in here. And if you want a stat, Pete, I know you're the stat guy. Anyone who is inclined to bet Warlike Goddess against the boys, and she loves a 1.5 miles, 6-year-olds and up are 0 for 53 in this race. So play her underneath, but tread lightly on top. Ernesto is worthy of note, Howard. Horses that don't win the Arc but run in the Arc historically have done very well in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Yeah.
Better than Arc winners. Arc also rans and runners up. And the other thing is the favorite is only 3 for 21 in the last 21 years. So there.
Well, then let's just hope Augusta Rodin's not the favorite.
Yeah, well, we hope for most of them.
I think he will be. I want him to comment on Mustadaf, that we'll talk about King of Steel, and then we're going to move on, guys. Davey Lane on our show mentioned that Mustadaf maybe wasn't intended for this race all along. He hasn't raced since October, and he's already his stud fee is already like taken care of. Like they know where they're going to go with him. Watch our international preview show. Davey Lane talked about this horse. This horse can win, but there's a few things that you might want to think about. So I'm just going to throw it out there.
Well, one thing
King of Steel.
Ascot for Champions Day, but the track, they didn't like the track, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't like veering from the plan.
Right. Was going to run in that race exactly a few weeks ago, but the track was
Speaking of Champions Day.
King of Steel is a very good horse. Coming back in 2 weeks, Pete, this is a very tough ask. You've got this horse in third. I have a lot of respect for this horse. It is tough to come back in 2 weeks. This is a huge horse. I cannot wait to see this horse in the paddock in the flesh. This is an absolutely huge horse for Ammo Racing USA, by the way, which is almost a negative to me because they're American connections. They're like, why not? The horse is feeling good. That's sort of why I don't like the horse a little bit too.
Yeah, but I mean, horses can run. They used to run on 2 weeks, and they still can when they really want to. And he's a big strapping son of a gun. So get him out there and let him run. And you got Frankie up again, and this horse has been knocking heads with Auguste Rodin and hasn't been able to get the best, but that doesn't mean that he can't hit the board and won't have a shot to win. If he gets the clean trip, likes the track, he's improving. If you just look from a time form standpoint, those last 4 getting a little bit better. The company's fantastic, has gone the 1.5 miles, has hit the board in every race. So there you go.
Do you have the conversion right there from kilos to pounds from Vaughn?
No.
I'm guessing he's like 1,250 or 1,300.
Even if the pounds were up there, I wouldn't know if he was big or small. So I don't necessarily care about the weight of the horses all that much.
Race horses on average are about 1,000 pounds, somewhere in there. So he's a big horse, guys. We are going to move on. It's going to be a great race. I think that's one of the races of the weekend for sure, the Breeders' Cup Turf. Now, we're going to be talking about the Classic, and we've got one person in the back row. We might have more coming on as well. Let me switch some banners here, guys. As I switch some banners, Paul, go ahead, Paul.
I was going to say, Howard, I'm running out of time here because this function started 17 minutes ago, and I know you have other people coming on for the Classic.
Yes.
So might I give you my opinion quickly on the last 3 races? And
yes, please do so. Go ahead.
I am betting Saudi Crown in the Classic.
Ooh.
With Wanda Barrio as my other A. I was probably going to bet Arcangelo until the foot problems and then now scratched. I like Living on a Dream a lot in the turf sprint. I think the Keeneland prep was very good for her, him.
They.
And Elite Power is one of my plays of the weekend in the sprint.
Okay. Paul, have a great dinner. We really appreciate you coming
See you tomorrow.
on.
You coming, Howard, or see you tomorrow?
You'll see me tomorrow, my friend. Can't wait.
Texting, buddy.
Have a great trip, guys.
Bye, guys. Take care, guys.
See you guys.
All right, let's bring on. We're going to talk about the Classic as I get ready for the Classic, Pete, here with some banner switching here. The Classic had a defection of Arcangelo. It's $6 million. It's the race of the day in theory. It feels a little meh to me, and I hate to say that because I don't see a horse in this race that has a chance to be horse of the year if they win.
No, and that never, right? Yeah, and that's almost never very rarely the case, I should say. You know, it's funny because they took a lot of crap, the Breeders' Cup and horse racing, for having this be the third to last race, and then you look at it and go, this race isn't that great. I don't even really want to. A lot of people I've seen don't even really want to bet it just because of the defections and the tragedies and everything else that's happening.
Yeah,
so
it's a little disappointing. But to help us out with the Breeders' Cup Classic, our other show that we have here on the network, Bet and Boozin', 4 fantastic handicappers who do a great job. There's a ton of videos, 3 of them specifically on our channel. We're going to bring one of them on right now who's very excited to talk about the Breeders' Cup Classic. Let's bring him on from the Ohio State University, and also will be making his first trip to Santa Anita this weekend. Charlie Freeman. Charlie, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. It's T-minus, we're not that far out. Getting picked up at noon from the airport. So, getting close to that time. Very excited for 80 and sunny and enjoying Cali opposed to 20 and freezing in Ohio.
Yeah, no, listen, we hear you. Of course, I'm in Chicago, and Pete's doing okay in Maryland there still, but eventually it's going to be coming his way. You see Paul's picks. He just mentioned that. And Charlie, we're just going to say your picks instead of putting them up on the screen. But let's go ahead and go to the Breeders' Cup Classic, guys. This is the third to last race of the day. It's race 9. It is $6 million. Arcangelo obviously not in this race. I'm just going to update. I'm curious to see if they still have him in there. Okay. Arcangelo not in this race. It's going to be a field of 12. The morning line favorite is Arabian Night, and I'm sure will be Arabian Night come post time. I believe he's going to be the favorite. Let's go to you. Actually, Pete, let's go to you first. Pete, you and I are agreeing, and we are going with the Japanese horse. We're going Ushba Tesoro, 4-1 morning line. Will be lower than that because Arcangelo is not in the race. Pete, what do you like about Ushba Tesoro, the winner of the Dubai World Cup this year?
Well, like we always say on here, I was the one who live on the air had Ushba Tesoro to win, had the exacta, had the triple live on the air Dubai World Cup day. So,
yes,
I like to stick with the ones that made me money in the past. But aside from that stupid reason, if you just look at this horse, ever since they took this horse off the turf and put this horse on the dirt, he's just been unbelievable. And he does it, he's gone to, obviously he hasn't traveled. He spent most of it in Japan, but did go to Dubai, was super impressive there, can handle the distance. Look, you see a nice 6 for 6 up there with a cool 8.7 million running at this distance, running the 1.25 miles. I just think he's super sharp. And I really like the fact that he's not coming in just off the Dubai race. They got him the tightener, the September 27th race. If you watch that race, I doubt the field was any good. He was a super big chalk, but he got what he needed out of it. It looked like a tightener. He rolled by. He was super impressive. He beats fields like he's supposed to when you're a quality horse. He has had some struggles in the gate, which we have seen daily. Today was supposedly a little bit better. He's a little funky. He's a little weird when he trains. He does a lot of things weird, unpracticed like. He's like the Allen Iverson of the Classic, apparently. Practice isn't his game, but get him on the track with the lights on, and he's pretty tough to beat, and nobody's beat him in a while.
A few quick things about Ushma that you touched on. He is tactical. He was tactical last time. He's been tactical before. He doesn't have to launch from far back.
Nope.
You talked about his gait issues. That last race, Pete, was actually some decent horses. There were some like grade 3 types in there.
Yeah, decent. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I know it wasn't, but it was a great prep. He did it very easily. I just think he's very likable. The only thing I don't like about this horse is the price. He's going to be second choice, I think, at 3-1. He's just, and I was hoping to get like 8-1 a few weeks ago, or 10-1. So that's the thing. Let's go to you, Charlie. Charlie Freeman on the bottom of the screen. You like a horse that I don't know if you've seen this. You go down to Gulfstream, I know, over the winter. I'm not sure if you've seen this horse in person. I'll let you talk more. But White Abarrio, the 3 here, is a really tricky horse for me. This is one of the horses for the entire weekend, Charlie. I'm not sure what to do with it because White Abarrio ran a complete hole in the wind last time in the Whitney, won by 6, got like a -6.5 on the Thorograph, which is a ridiculous number, a 110 buyer. I think that's the best in the field. Now has been off since then. Charlie, you are not concerned. You're going to go with White Abarrio.
Yeah, as I kind of touched on earlier with the Bet and Boozing guys, I'm not really worried. I know there were some concerns about the workout inconsistencies and the horse being off for a while, but then shows up with a 59-4, very sharp workout showing that White Abarrio at least appears physically fit and ready to go. And as you touched on, kind of freaked. I mean, obviously, put up that 103 and 106 buyer, which are nothing to, blow over. Those are still very impressive compared to most of the horses in this field. And then just freaks with a 110. And, to be sitting just off that pace, which is something we've seen White Abarrio do and kind of show that different tactical ability where sometimes the horse is a little farther back, sometimes right on the leaders. And in this one, at a little more of a reasonable but not as quick pace as White Abarrio has dealt with in the past, was able to just sit right on the leaders and then just blew by. And you look, ran against Zandon, who I'll touch on later, I think is a real shot in this race. Cody's Wish ran against some of the best horses in the world in the Grade 1 Whitney and made it look like White Abarrio was just racing, in a race where you'd assume this horse was even money or less with how easily White Abarrio ran away from the rest of this field. And I'll be honest, as someone who's been on the White Abarrio bandwagon and always joke around that I love my grays and I think you're better off betting grays. But this is a horse that I've been on the bandwagon for since the Florida Derby. Picked White Abarrio in a minor upset, but I can't lie. As someone who tends to show some bias towards the horses I support, I never would have expected White Abarrio to win this effortlessly. Just comes at, as we're seeing now with the replay, comes right off the turn and just flies by this field. And again, you would not, if you were just watching this race, expect that White Abarrio was running against horses like Zandon, Giant Game, Charge It, and Cody's Wish with how easily this
Cody
horse
right
won.
here, by the way. Cody's right here. Yeah, I mean, look, this is just, there's nothing to say. It's just an unbelievable effort. Although it was a slow pace up front. You got an absolutely perfect trip, but you can't do it any better than that. Charlie, I got one question for you, and Pete, I'd like you to address this question also. White Abarrio was transferred from Safi Joseph, who I know you're a big fan of, to Dutro. Do you believe the improvement on White Abarrio is him just maturing and getting older and better, or do you think Dutro is really the key, in your opinion, Charlie?
I think it's honestly a little bit of both. Again, I will say, like, you can kind of see, obviously, in that race in March, where I believe the horse was still being trained by Safi at the time, had that big step up to the 103. So at least it looked like the horse was starting to get things figured out. So, look, we've seen these things before. If you look again earlier in the career, to start with an 80 on debut, which is nothing bad, but obviously nothing special, and then was able to get up to that 96, 97 rating when the horse won the Derby. So we've seen White Abarrio in the past be able to figure things out. And then, obviously in the Kentucky Derby made me look bad when I believed in the horse, and you see the 51. So certainly there's been those inconsistencies. But what I like is that constant trend where, again, I think it's more about the horse than the trainer, is the fact that you've seen White Abarrio have those little dips in form where you're starting to wonder, is this where the horse just sort of tables out and starts to see regression? And then you see these new rises that just keep happening. And now we've seen this sort of like substantial rise to these high figures in the hundreds all the way up to a 110. And now you're kind of wondering, is White Abarrio going to take that next step forward or have that repeat? Or if you're on the other side thinking maybe you see a regression again, and I'm on the side that believes White Abarrio is at peak form, and I don't think the horse has quite reached the ceiling yet. I think this race could be that race.
Charlie, I hate to bring this up, but I got to bring it up. But do me a favor, don't go on a hot take for 6 minutes because we got things to talk about. From Kevin B in the chat, did Charlie start the investigation into Michigan stealing signs? 30-second reaction, Charlie. 30 seconds.
No, I didn't start it, but I'm very excited for when the NCAA finishes it and the corrupt Jim Harbaugh and Michigan go crashing down. We all know it's the only reason they did anything. And it's only getting worse. Kyle, who's one of our co-hosts, is starting to get a little quiet whenever I call him out about it because it went from a joke to now it doesn't look good and could be a postseason ban. And apparently now they had someone at the Central Michigan game. That's pretty concerning.
Right now. Thanks a lot, by the way. Christos in the chat said best of luck with Shards. We appreciate that. Pete, look, I wasn't planning on using White Barrier at all. With the defections, after thinking about it, I can't let this horse beat me. I've got him second. He's very logical. It's hard to trust a lot of horses in this race as good as they are. I've got him second. You've got him second too.
Yeah, I mean, most of the horses in this race, you could point to a question mark. We talked about it. It's not a classic field. So you can't look at it and say, can White Barrio really win the Breeders' Cup Classic?
Right,
there's been other horses who have won the Breeders' Cup Classic in down years that aren't quote unquote classic type winners. But a horse like this who's on the improve, I think Irad's ridden him twice. He keeps him a little bit closer. He could sit. You got a horse right there, Saudi Crown. We know Arabian Night, I'm sure we'll talk about in a bit. There's speed up there. If those two hook up, it's going to cook. And White Barrio is tactical enough to sit right behind, like Charlie talked about. And if he could attack that speed, then he could hold off a horse potentially like Ushpa Tesoro and some of the other off the pace horses that we'll probably get to in a bit.
Pete, I just don't know how good the 3-year-olds are. I mean, I liked Arcangelo, but frankly, Arcangelo was beating these horses. Arabian Night has a 101 buyer top, okay? A time form top of 125. Has never been, it's been the 1.25 miles, but, so I guess he can get the distance, obviously. I don't understand. It's been working, by the way, like a beast. I will say that.
Yeah.
And I know it's Baffert. This horse is the favorite. I just don't get. I guess because it's Baffert and Santa Anita. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't like Saudi Crown is just as good to me. Maybe Saudi Crown can't get the distance, but I don't think Saudi Crown is just going to let Arabian Night just, go ahead, Bob, just take the lead and wire the field. Like that ain't happening with Brad Cox. So it just feels like an older horse going to win this race. And you mentioned Charlie Zandon on the inside. Let's not overlook Zandon too, because and a horse like Bright Future, who I don't like personally in this race. Although, Pete, you know how much I've loved this horse this year and actually cashed on him a few times at prices. Let's talk about Zandon, and then we're going to move on and let Charlie go. Charlie, I'll let you talk about Zandon first. Finished second to White Barrio, just won by 4 1/4. Big question for me, is he talented enough? Number one. Number two, the distance might be the biggest issue for me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, again, I do like the horses working forwardly. And again, something I touched on before, I just feel like whenever you look at one of these races, we always talk about Chad Brown specifically, where he always shows up in those big races and you never want to overlook him. But even just trainer aside, I mean, Zandon has always been a talented horse. I mean, you look at the resume, it's just grade 2s, grade 1s. Sure, you mix in a grade 3, but I mean, running in the Travers, the Derby. I mean, this horse was a length away from winning the Kentucky Derby. I think people sometimes forget, and I get that Zandon's not in that form right now, but still, you see the figures are higher now, and Zandon is starting to find that groove. This has been a horse where I get it. My co-host Kyle has talked about that the horse hasn't gotten the job done with the wins, and you see in the lifetime 13 races, almost half of them have been second. But this horse is finishing second to Repo Rocks, Mind Control, Cody's Wish, White Barrio. It's not like it's losing to some embarrassing horses, Epicenter. So I think Zandon, finally got the monkey off its back and got that win that everybody's been kind of hating on Zandon for not getting the job done. And, I've talked about this many times when a horse is in a race where they kind of have to win. And that's what it felt like last time out was Zandon had to get that win if Zandon was going to be able to he was going to take that next step forward into a big race like the Classic. And again, I feel like if there's a hot enough pace, which we could certainly get, with Saudi Crown and Arabian Night, it could factor in well for Zandon. And I wouldn't be surprised if this horse ends up finishing strong late. And again, at the very least could finish in the money and has consistently done so at 12-1. But I would say if you were looking for an upset in this race, I think Zandon is a very compelling argument.
This is the great analysis you get from Charlie and everyone. Charlie, before I let you go, first of all, appreciate it, man. I really look forward to seeing you in person, especially at Santa Anita. I can't believe you're going to be out there. It's awesome.
I can't either.
Your top
so
3
excited.
picks, Charlie, in this race for the viewers. Your top 3 in the Classic.
Yeah, so for this race, I'm going 382. So I believe that's White Abario, and then I know you already talked a lot about the Japanese
Ushba.
horse, so I don't
Yep.
really need to go over it. And then I just covered
Yep.
Zandon. So yeah, that's my top three.
Right. Okay, so Charlie's going 382. And Charlie, as you go, why don't you promote Ben and Boozin? When can people watch Ben and Boozin with yourself, Patrick Kunzel, Noah Maher, and host Kyle Roscoe? When is the show? And you guys don't just talk about horse racing also.
No, correct. So yeah, we're normally every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. I know we just recorded a bunch of tape shows to release. So if you do want to catch up on them, we've broke down just about everything. I mean, I don't know if I've ever spent so much time in my life, folks. I was talking to the boss man, spending more time on horse racing than school. So I'll tell you what, if you want strong
Yes.
analysis, don't tell
We
my
did it,
professors.
Pete. We convinced him.
We
Don't
did.
tell my professors, but we've been putting in the work. But yeah, as you touched on, it's not just horse racing. If you are someone who has and right now in this time of year, college football and NFL, we also cover some of the most important games there. And I also like to give my little best bets and rants at the end. So if you're looking for something to re-wake you up and you don't want to get some caffeine, just watch me and go on my brief rant. Then we will be moving into basketball eventually after football season's over. So yeah, if you're big basketball and football guys, and then I also know my co-hosts are really into golf. I'm not as much, but if you are into golf for the big tournaments, I know whenever those are on, we cover that as well. So if you're looking for that good balance after the horse racing and some good energy and some people kind of giving each other a little crap and having a fun time, we have a good time with the Bet and Boozin crew. Again, that's Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central.
Wow,
That was fantastic. Yeah, look at that.
Wow, I think that's a drop the mic moment. Charlie, we'll see you in California. Take care.
Take care, man. Good to see you, brother.
All right. Wow, that was like perfect ESPN-like promo.
That was excellent.
Does Zandon have a chance to actually win the race?
I think so. I mean, he's not. I mean, aside from the normal chance, I think he has an average to slightly above average chance to win a race that I think doesn't have a superstar in it, doesn't have horses that are guaranteed even to run their best race. Zandon, maybe, hey, it's like anything. Maybe a horse gets a little bit of confidence. He finally crossed the wire first. Maybe he got a taste for it. He's never been my horse. You guys have always liked him. You and Paul have always liked Zandon a lot more than I have. But on the board, the guy's 12 for 13. He finds a way. So if you're getting him at double digits and you're looking for a nice try, a nice exacta, why the hell not?
P, let's go to the Breeders' Cup. We have 2 races left. We're going to go through these a little bit more quickly. Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. This is a completely difficult handicapping puzzle. It's 5 furlongs at Santa Anita's turf course. Good luck, everyone. It's a field of 12. There's also eligibles in here. The morning line favorite is, look at these odds. I mean, it's crazy. Is the number 5, Living in the Dream, who just went sub 21 in his North American debut at Keeneland, losing upset to Tony Ann, the 4 in this race, who was a big price and is going to be a big price again. I know there's a lot of Notorious love out there, the number 10. We're both going with Notorious. I don't know if we're going to get, that 5-1 even, but it's such a wide open field. We may. He's just a really damn good, consistent horse who might get a great setup, Pete.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's the key with anything is this race has tons and tons of fast horses up front that, again, have no other option but to get to the lead and try and win this race. So what we're looking for based on at least my pick, I don't remember who do you have in second? You have, so you're looking for horses coming off as well. So you're looking at it the same way I am, where we're hoping this pace just heats the hell up front. There's plenty of speed and there's fast horses. And Notorious, I mean, he's 5 for 5 in the money at the track, 4 for 4 at the distance. He's won and going the 5 furlongs. So that's not necessarily a concern. He can run sharp off a layoff, which, it's not a big layoff by any stretch, but just a touch over the normal. He can run off that. D'Amato in California, he's got picking up Pratt again. I think a lot of things just follow this horse, and he's on the uptick. I mean, those last 3 races were basically his 3 best races from a figure standpoint. He chased down almost No Balls last time when No Balls had a pace advantage and Notorious was a little too far back. And now I think there's a hell of a lot more pace up front.
Yeah, I don't think to add. I think Notorious is really good. And the horse that I have second is one of my long shots of the weekend. And most people that watch this show know that I do not like turf sprints in general. It's just a lot of crazy stuff happens. It's just hard to predict. Roses for Deborah, complete toss out last time, guys. That was a total bog and a prep. She didn't like it at all. People are going to look at Big Invasion more, who I like also too, but I don't like the one hole at all. She fits numbers wise, and I think Irad's going to put this very talented filly in a great position. I think actually the 5 is going to work very well for her if she gets the right trip. I don't think she's that far off Notorious. I don't know if she can win. She's definitely going to be a reverse tri-key play for me underneath Pete. I think Rose Verdebra is a fascinating price horse in this race. There's so much damn speed. Paul's got living in the dream, and I get it. That was wind aided. I just want to mention to everyone that was wind aided last time. Okay, you're saying Howard, it was still 20.97. I get it. There was like a 20-mile-per-hour wind with them, and he faded, but he's really a complete need the lead type. And even when he goes 5 furlongs, Pete, he doesn't always get the job done. And there's like 3 or 4 that have to go. I'm against him on Saturday, recognizing that I guess if he gets loose, he can win. I just don't think he's getting loose.
Yeah, but you could say that. I mean, if he gets loose, he could win there. But there's no way a horse like No Balls isn't going to the lead. He's got no other shot. Jasper Crone outside, who's
Very
outside of
fast.
this horse, is super fast as
Yeah.
well. And then there's other. I mean, it's a turf sprint, so we're not saying a lot by saying there's some speed in it, but there's real honest to God speed in this race. And again, if Living the Dream can get out and get on the lead and go and take this field to route, more power to him. I'll have him on some tickets, so it's not like I'm going to be dead if he does that. But it's got to set up for a closer. And here's my second choice.
Go ahead. I like this horse a lot when he lost to Caraval in the Jaipur, but that was 6. This is a tough call for me because I love the horse and I love the connections. I just hate the rail. I'm not sure 5 is what he's going to be best at, but he's very talented.
Hey, but at 5.5, he's 6 for 9, 8 for 9 in the top 2, 5.5. He's got his lifetime buyer top came at 5.5. This is a little bit shorter, but still he could show that he could do that. And maybe with some of these horses, the shorter you go, even a little bit shorter is enough for them to really unwind that late kick. They don't use as much but he can unwind that late kick. The one is a concern, didn't love the post. He can get hung up. It's a big field, but I like the horse, and if you can get anywhere near, and I got a lot of Rosario closers though on this card that I'm noticing. I'm not sure that's the best thing. Maybe he'll recapture his old form and his old mind, but again,
why do I visions Tuesday night of Pete going on total rants that Rosario can't ride anymore?
Yeah, F and Rosario.
Bad ride. F this.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I have visions, Pete. Sorry,
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that for sure. Yes, but. Yeah. I think though, and that was maybe one of the reasons why I went with Motorius, because I might have went with Big Invasion if he was just outside a little bit further, but I really love his shot. Shoot, when I get to the pick 5, I went too deep in our pick 5 in this race. I'm going all or nothing with the 2 I think are the 2 best closers in the race.
I like it. And Caraval, returning champ, is in here. I'm not sure she's the same, but I mean, if she runs a big race, would anyone be surprised? No. It's a tough race.
Yeah.
Pete, we're at the last race. This is going to be the closeout of the BCBC contest. It's going to be the closeout of the pick 6, pick 5, closeout of everything. It is going to be on, I think, Peacock or some NBC. It's actually on TVG. It's on FanDuel is what it's on, as was the race we just talked about. Let's go ahead and bring it up. It's the Breeders' Cup Sprint to close out the 2023 Breeders' Cup. Of course, it's grade 1. You got a field of 9, and there's 3 horses in here. Well, it's really a 4-horse race, most likely, but 2 horses are going to lock it up again with Elite Power versus Gunite on the, both of them drew outside, which I thought was pretty interesting. Let's bring up our picks for the very last race of the day. I'm going 9, 8, 7. Pete is going 7, 8, 9. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. And Paul is not using Speedwell Beach at all. He's got Dr. Schivel in there for a third. Pete, you're going to go with the speed, literally, of Speedwell Beach. Baffert and Smith just go to the lead and wire the field. He's probably the fastest early in this race as long as he breaks.
That's it. You said everything right there. I hope he was off for, what was that, 9+ months going into that last race, and oddly had been running on the turf after breaking the track record with a 104 buyer in his debut on the dirt. Was always a bit of a curious route he's taken. I think now he's back doing what he's supposed to be doing. He got that tightener in, was awesome. I mean, Dr. Schivel's an excellent horse, but this horse was able to get out, sat off a little bit, wasn't the best pace, just couldn't get the job done. But it's a 9+ month layoff. So I'm not too concerned with that. I assume Baffert's going to have this horse, and by the works, you could see it. He's going to have this horse sharp, ready to go. He's on the outside, so he can gun. I don't think there's anybody close to fast enough to go with him. He's going to get on the lead, and Elite Power and Gun Knight are going to have to come and get him, and we'll see if they can.
Speedboat Beach on the outside didn't have the lead. Actually, sort of was ridden not as aggressively. He's going to be ridden a lot more aggressively. Pete.
Oh yeah. I
sure.
don't think. Yeah, it was definitely an odd. I mean, just watching it, you're going, what are they doing with this horse? Are they trying to try rating? Are they trying to do something a little bit different? Who knows? The track was a little bit was wet, as you could see them slopping around in it. Now you're going to get this horse a lightning fast track. I assume it's going to be souped up. He's going to go straight to the lead. I like that Espinoza. So we talk about the ride and the trip. Espinoza's not the favorite of many, not the favorite of mine. I'm not a Mike Smith guy either, but Mike Smith knows how to just get a horse, get him on the lead, and win a race. So he doesn't have to do too much. Just let him go and let him run.
Yeah. No, he's not messing around. And you have to believe Speedboat Beach is going to be better on Saturday than he was in that last start. Pete, I had a tough time with this race. I know I should probably take
race,
Elite
man.
Power. I know I should probably take Elite Power. We've talked about this horse a lot. I haven't disrespected this horse. I just wasn't sure how good he was. He's been great. He was great last time, even when he lost. You know what, though? Gun Knight's going to be lost in the betting again, I feel. And I just don't know why people don't like this horse. I know Elite Power they've been trading blows. To me, Gun Knight sits an absolutely perfect trip, Pete. Now, is he going to be good enough? He's going to like Santa Anita. I mean, there's questions, of course. If he breaks well, he's sitting right off of Speedboat Beach in theory, and he's going to get first run on Elite Power. Now, Can he go by Speedboat Beach and hold off Elite Power and beat Dr. Schivel? I don't know, but I've just been a Gun Knight fan all along. That last race makes me like Gun Knight even more. And we talked about the last race. He's not a two-turn horse piece, Pete. I'm not worried about the slight regression. This is a one-turn horse. He's probably even better at 6 than 7. I just think Gun Knight is very logical, very likable. And I'm going to go with Tyler G to close out the day at Santa Anita.
Yeah, I have nothing. No, I have no. I usually like to poo-poo a little bit. I have no poo-pooing on this race. No, I think everything you said. It's fun. I really like when the 3 best horses, in theory, in the race are on the 3 different levels of the race too. Like the best horse is the speed. We got the stalker, and then we got the closer. So it's going to hook up, and you're going to say, all right, can Gun Knight, like you said, can he attack Speedboat Beach? When he does he look over his shoulder and say, oh shoot, here comes the big boy on the outside, to see if he can run him down again like he did, what was that, 3 back? And then we saw what he did in the Forego, though. He was able to kick away, and he made Elite Power have too much to do, and he couldn't get there. So why not? I think anything can happen. Chosen Ron's getting slept on. Just show his PPs. I mean, his PPs are beautiful. Yeah, I mean, they're beautiful. If you own this horse, look at that. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, he's not. I don't think he classes up, but he's a nice.
No, horse. I don't think so either. Yeah, although they didn't think he would class up in the Bing Crosby, that feels not as good as this. But I mean, he at least showed that he can run at a graded stakes level against high quality horses.
I want to push back on the Maiden Folks' comment. I don't think Gun Knight's going to duel with Speedboat Beach. I don't think he needs to. I think he'll just sit a half length. He'll sit a length off. He'll be on his butt. He won't be head to head with him. I don't think.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think his game is better doing that. I think he's at his best.
Yeah.
Doing that. Yes, I don't think. And I don't think you want, if he runs with Speedboat Beach, I think it could kill them both. Why not sit off and try and run your best style as opposed to killing yourself? Then you're just giving the race to Elite Power. No.
And what's funny is Dr. Schivel could just be sitting there on the inside of the pocket.
An awesome horse.
And might get through up the inside and win. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I have Schivel as a B as in boy. I think it's a 4-horse race. I don't really see anyone else winning. Pete, let's go to our pick 5 as we end the show. Now, let me just show Pete. Our pick 5 is the late pick 5. Just let everyone know, the one that goes races 7 through 11. So what we're showing is the late pick 5, 7 through 11, and then we're going to go because Pete, I'm getting on a plane in some ridiculous 11 hours, and I've got 8 hours of work to do before I go.
And I got power pick work to do. I got to tighten up those power picks. Let's do it.
All right. So I just want to show, here's Paul's pick 5. He's not here to defend himself, but You can see on the screen 3, 4, 2, 5, 8, 9, 11 with 3, 6, 12 with 3, 5, 8, 10 with 8, 9. It's a $120 ticket. Pete, let's go to you. You're going, I gave everyone a 150, got to bump it up for the Breeders' Cup. Pete's
Breeders'
going
Cup.
3, 4, 7, 9 with 5, 8, 9, 11 with 3, 8, 12 with 1, 10 with 7, 8, 9. Pete, your quick thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about the first one. We talked about it a little bit in the Distaff is kicking it off, and I'm going with a bunch of closers and then one speed horse, Idiomatico. I just think is the best horse in the race, and if anybody can buck the trend of hey, this is going to heat up and gonna die, I think Idiomatic can do it. In the turf, I think there's 4 horses who could win the turf. I'm taking all 4 of them. That's very simple. Simple as that. Third leg is which one? Oh, the classic. The classic, I have no friggin' idea, but I like Usper Tesoro. We talked about White Obario. And I'm taking a shot with Arabian Knight, who's training like a monster. And if he just gets on the lead and clears Saudi Crown, why not? I don't want to be pissed when that horse wins the race. Then in the turf sprint, I'm taking my top 2, Big Invasion, Motorious. We're going to look for a hot pace, and we're going to see if I can get one of those 2 closers home. And then in the last race, just like we talked about, why screw around? I'm taking the 3 most logical horses, and then I'm not going to care which one of them from which level wins the race. And then Dr. Shovel wins, and I get pissed off and throw the ticket away.
Exactly. I'm just going to say, let's just hope that doesn't happen.
Dr. Shivel, I should say. I called him Shivel. I apologize.
I never know which one.
Yeah.
Here's my ticket for 120. I'm going 4, 6, 8, 9 with 5, with 2, 3, 8, 12, with 1, 5, 7, 9, 10, with 7, 8, 9. My general opinion is the Distaff's a pretty difficult race. Augusta Rodin, listen, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I just love that he's not going to be, 6-5. He's going to be a soft favorite, and I just love everything about him. I know I need the trip and blah, blah, blah. I get it. I'm going to spread a little bit in the classic. I'm using Xander. I just don't trust a lot of horses in that race speed. I got to go deep there, and I have to go deep in a turf sprint. You know me. Who knows what's going to happen there? I'm throwing Big Invasion, as you can see, both Clements and some speeds and closers. No balls we didn't talk about much. He's very fast also. Wouldn't shock me there. And then I'm going same as you. Oh boy, 7, 8, 9 in the spread, hoping Dr. Shivel doesn't stuff us into a locker. Pete, this has just been an unbelievable week plus of shows here on the HHH Racing Podcast. And I cannot, again, thank everyone, all the viewers, all the listeners, all the fans. The growth of this show has been amazing for almost 3 years, especially during these big times. Please spread the word on the HHH Racing Podcast. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere else. Pete, final thoughts, and then I'll close the show.
Yeah, I'll say we get big numbers during the Breeders' Cup, but we're here every week, multiple times a week, the whole year for every track, every big race, every when you get to Triple Crown. But we're here in between. So if you're watching now, definitely subscribe. And the last thing I'll say, I don't have to say anything else against the Breeders' Cup. I want to wish you and Paul and Matt and all the friends of the show and all my friends the best of luck in the BCBC. Bring it home. Hopefully all you guys finish, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many are you, 6, finish all in the top, bring home the money, have a great time regardless of how, I'm sure you'll have a great time regardless of if you zero out, you lose your bets, you'll be hanging with a bunch of great guys, you'll be drinking some beers, drinking some cocktails. So it's going to be fantastic in sunny California. So good luck. Have a great time. I'm happy you guys are going to be there, and you're going to be in the winner's circle for a Breeders' Cup race. Does it get any better than that?
Man, Pete, that would be insane. Well, we're going to miss you out there. The whole podcast is going to be out there except Pete. He's got family obligations and just was in California a few weeks ago. But Pete, we're going to be thinking about you. And again, it's going to be fantastic. Safe travels, everyone out there. We got to go. I got to do work and get some sleep if possible. Pete, you got some work to do. All I can say as we end the show is thank you very much for watching. Crush your bets at the 2023 Breeders' Cup. Go Shards! Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Rapids. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.